Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ask the Nanny. Tonight, we are talking about NCS life. And if you don't know what NCS stands for, it is Newborn Care Specialist. I have with me Tanya Sakowitz, which is the owner of Newborn Care Solutions, and she's going to talk to us about the different levels of NCSs. And then I have two elite NCSs, which means that they have gone through basics, they have gone through advanced, and both of you all in the second year, right? So you've
Right.
been through the first year, and now they're in the second year of elite, and then it's the master next. Am I correct?
Yep.
Okay. See, I'm still down here at the basic. I know me.
It's
So,
all right. There's time.
yes, there's still time. Okay, so before we get started, I have a couple of announcements. Ask the Nanny is going to start going live on the Ask the Nanny Facebook page starting on May the 4th. So tell all your friends, tell all um, your groups and everything. Let them know that we will be on the Ask the Nanny page. Okay. So I'm going to have these young ladies to introduce themselves while I find me on Facebook so we can answer your questions. So we'll start with Miss Tanya.
So, hi. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Tanya Sakowitz. I am the owner and the creator of the education curriculum for Newborn Care Solutions. And we are the only cash accredited training program for newborn care specialists to become a legitimately certified newborn care specialist. We started out as a program. Angela referred to it as the basic program. We refer to it as our foundational program. But we started out a little bit differently. Our whole goal right from the get-go was to provide training to the nanny industry. And so this was geared for and designed for a group of people that were already childcare professionals. And after we created that class, then we started getting requests for more and more. And now we have a full-blown program that, depending on how far you want to go, can take you all the way through what we refer to as the Master NCS, which is actually one of a couple of programs that we have actually trademarked. So they are unique to our company only, which we're super excited about. We offer our classes live, but we also actually predominantly offer them online. And so they're available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're all filmed at live training. So it's very much like being in a live training. And I have been in the in-home childcare industry for 35 years now.
Ooh.
And I am the current co-president of the International Nanny Association after serving on their board as a general board member and an executive board member. And then for the past 2 years as the co-president of the International Nanny Association. Not sure what else you'd like to know. I have 2 kids. I have a husband. I have a dog. I like to scuba dive. So.
Now that's something, scuba diving is not for everyone. That's not I would do. That's just me.
Yeah.
So Miss Chevelle, tell us about your journey through NCS. Introduce
Hi,
yourself.
thank you. Hi, my name is Chevelle Frederick. I am an elite newborn care specialist here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but provide support everywhere. I have been a nanny for approximately 7 years and a newborn care specialist for about 3.5, almost 4 years, exclusively working with newborns and infants. Um, I am one half of Harmony Baby Concierge. Uh, Alexis is my business partner, as well as classmate, and just love doing uh, newborn care support with parents and with my littles. Um, let's see, I'm a mother myself also. I have 2 adult children. Um, and yeah, just enjoy really being able to support parents where I can and help them get through the first few months of uh, time with their new baby.
All right, Miss Alexis.
Hi, I'm Alexis. I am the co-founder of Harmony Baby Concierge and also an elite newborn care specialist. I have been in the private service industry for 5 years, and I have been working exclusively overnights with
Uh-oh.
in Dallas. I travel as well. Oh, is it breaking up?
Yeah, I was like, uh-oh.
So most of my clientele is based in Dallas, although I do serve nationwide, and I'm spending about 40% of this year traveling, which has been interesting so far. But I teach my clients respectful care methods, and we work on getting their babies sleeping through the night with no tears. So,
Yay. And I'm happy to report that the little baby that I left, all this, we went on shelter in place. I left him 2 weeks ago and he was sleeping 5 to 6 hours a night. Mom just informed me he had slept through the night from like 9 to like 5:45, 3 nights in a row. And I'm like, yeah. So, okay, that's a major accomplishment. But I must say that he was a good sleeper from day one. He honestly was a good sleeper. I had to wake him up to feed him simply because I'm like, okay, you're newborn, we gotta get that good fat in you and all that good stuff so you can maintain overnight. He has been an excellent sleeper since day one. So it does not surprise me. Now, all babies are not like that. Please do not be fooled. All babies are not like that. And
no.
that's why we're here. Because I have had, basically since I launched my new website on Wednesday, I've had like 6 or 7 nannies say, I want to be a newborn care specialist. I want to be a newborn care specialist. They saw me and Chevelle Friday night on Nanny T's slumber party. I want to be a newborn care specialist. I want to even be a newborn care specialist. I was like, do you really realize what you're asking for? It is not all glamour and, oh, yeah, I make a lot of money. Hello. You work for every penny. I'm
Every
here
penny.
to tell you.
And you work a hell of a lot of hours to make that money.
Yes,
Sure do.
a whole lot of hours. And it's not just when you get to work. You start working before you get to work. I just made, one of my friends just had twins. And she said, I'm struggling, trying to breastfeed my twins. So I made her some lactation cookies. Now, is that, do I normally do that? If parents request that, yes. This is my friend. So I gave, made some and, I said, I'm going to drop them at the door. They're in plastic, Lysol or whatever you got to do. I'm dropping it at the door and I'm going back home. But she appreciated me making those lactation cookies for her. And it's just those little things that we do behind the scenes because, making a batch, you got to wait 11 minutes. Do you know how many cookies come out of one batch? And you wait 11 minutes for each batch to go through. That's 2 or 3 hours just waiting on the cookies to just bake. And you can't just leave them in the oven and let them burn. So, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And that's just a little thing. So I'm going to start.
Have you read this week?
Say what now?
How many books have you read this week? You have to read books. If your client's house, you have to read through studies. It's not just working at night.
It's not just working at night. And how many other classes have you taken besides the newborn care solutions classes? How many other classes have you taken, professional development classes have you taken just so you can keep abreast of what's going on and just to even get started? Because I know I took sleep training too.
So are you asking each of us?
Each of you.
So
because I know you used to do it too, Tanya.
Yeah, and I do still take babies once in a while, but I myself, so I've created the content for what we teach for the most part. So I'm constantly studying because for every hour of teaching that I create, there's about 4 to 8 hours of research and studying just to create that hour. But I took 7 classes just this last 12 months myself.
Wow.
So I'm constantly learning. I am of the belief that if you think you are done learning, if you think you know it all and there's nothing else left to learn, it's time to retire.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And what about you, Chevelle? How many extra classes? I mean, not just this year, but how many extra classes did you have to take once you got into it and you started? How many extra classes have you taken?
So I have taken, and I know you said besides NCS classes, but each class kind of builds upon each other. So I've taken, like I said, my foundation, the advanced, the elite. I've taken 2 sleep classes, sleep solutions, and I've also taken another sleep training class. I've taken a lactation class. I've taken respectful care. I've taken new parent educator class. Yeah, it's getting up there. And I still have classes on my radar that I want to take. I want to do postpartum doula training as well. There's exams to take. I am still studying for my CASH and my INA um, uh, credential class. So there's still, things that I would like to do. And then there probably are going to be newer classes that are coming out just for the new world that we're living in. Um, I've tried to do a website class. I mean, there's everything. There's everything and anything to try to enhance my business um, and my offerings as well.
Miss Alexis?
So I've taken all of Newborn Care Solutions courses. I have a couple of smaller courses that I need to finish up. But other than that, I actually haven't taken as many as I would love to take because there's so many great options. I feel like everyone in our industry, so many people have offerings and everybody has a different perspective. But I've taken amazing, and then I do plan on taking the postpartum doula trainings that Kappa offers, as well as new parent educator.
Okay, now I have taken sleep training. As a matter of fact, Chevelle was at that class when I took it. I hosted the sleep training because I was like, I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna get it all. You're not leaving here until I get everything that I need to know to do sleep training. And that's one of the biggest parts of being an NCS, not just knowing about the baby, but parents are going to expect you to put that baby to sleep. So you're not leaving here until he can sleep overnight, and I won't have to get up in the middle of the night. So if they find that you just there, you got an office job and you just coming in to make some money and you plan on sleeping all night and the baby crying, you won't have your job long. I promise you that. They will find somebody else while you're there. They'll be up in the middle of the night texting, do you know somebody I need a newborn care specialist? And I had a family that I was a nanny to, and they found out the difference between a newborn care specialist and a night nanny. There is a difference.
There is a difference.
Yeah. There is a difference. And after taking Tanya's class, some of the things that were in here it was like you put stuff on the back burner you don't remember, and then take the class. Oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. Oh, I was supposed to do that. All of that stuff comes to light and you actually use it. When you think you don't need it, you do. I've taken lactation class, lactation educator class, the new parent class, the sleep training class. I want to take the postpartum doula class. I have taken, what was that other class? There were several other classes, but when I tell you, it adds up. So to become the professional, to become the elite and the master NCSs, it takes money. It takes investment. It's not about, I'm going to go make all this money. You invest it back into yourself. you invest it back into your business, because Chevelle and Alexis have a business and they have to invest in that business. And it takes a website, it takes promoting yourself, it takes contract. You got to learn all of these different things, and or else you're going to get duped.
Yeah, and that to add on to kind of what you're saying, it's not just me showing up at a parent's home and training them how to put their baby to sleep. It is a lot of research. It is a lot of making sure that I come across professional when I'm in their home, because they're going to not just trust me with their baby, but I'm trying to teach them how to interact with their baby and how to read their cues. And so in order to do that, I have to put on a very professional face. And it takes hours and hours of time to actually think about how do you want to come across to your clients. Just before this call, actually, Alexis and I were FaceTiming and trying to put together our next, package. And it took me a good portion of my day just to hammer out my thoughts so that I come across as clear and concise and as polished as possible to help my client.
Yes. And you're going to have to learn all these new coronials that are coming out come December through the beginning of next year, through March of next year. And we call them coronials because they, when you're in isolation, procreation. So that's all I can say. But there's going to be a huge need for all these new babies coming out. So I suggest you take this time now, listen to what these ladies are saying, what goes on behind the scenes to get your business together, to get yourself together. If this is what you really, really want to do, these ladies can enlighten you as to what goes on behind the scenes. It's not all, oh, look at the little baby. Oh, he's so cute. Yeah, when that baby's up in the middle of the night with gas, what you gonna do? And you don't know, oh, maybe he has gas. Let me burp the baby. Oh, maybe he has silent reflux. Do you even know what that is? Do you know what to do?
And do you know what causes it? Because it could
Hello.
be the food, it could be a food allergy, it could be a lip or a tongue tie. There's so many things that it could be. But I love the point that you made, Angela, that people need to look at this as an investment in themselves and the money that they're putting into themselves. And I will tell you that students who put that money into themselves make it back 10 times over. They make it over and over and over again because they're doing for themselves the same thing that they do oftentimes for clients. They're empowering themselves. We work with parents and we're really good at empowering parents and making them feel confident, but taking those classes and investing your time and your effort and your energy empowers you. And when you empower yourself, you're more confident, you're more professional, and you know how to handle things, and that gets you a higher rate.
Yes, 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 it does. All I can say is when I took Tanya's class, I was like, okay, I'm kind of on the fence about this. And it took me a while to really decide, okay, I'm going to jump off the cliff. My very first official NCS client was a couple who were having twins. Well, I've worked as a nanny for twins, so that was easy. But they asked me about my faith walk. Now, this is the first couple that had ever asked me anything about, how does your faith, come across into, helping me with my children. Because of their faith walk, they didn't want just anybody taking care of their kids. They wanted someone that's on the same page with them. So when I told them I just quit my job and I have no safety net, that was why they hired me, because I took the leap of faith, that I had enough faith that it was going to happen for me. That was why they hired me, because of my faith. Now, Other parents may hire you because of whatever it is that you're saying, whatever it is that your little niche. But you've got to be consistent. You've got to build yourself up. Word of mouth is everything. And if you are not a professional, if you are not uh, educated, if you don't give them some terminology that they can search for on Dr. Google, you're not gonna. It's not gonna happen. Now, I'll let them tell you about the behind the scenes because not every baby is a perfect sleeper. Alexis, will go to you first. I'm sure you have some non-sleeping babies stories.
I've been pretty lucky. I actually have never had, well, I guess I had a really short contract, my last family that I worked with. So they're 8 weeks old. So they're not sleeping through the night, but I actually never had a baby that didn't sleep 12 hours through the night. Not as of yet. But I've been pretty lucky, but I have had some babies that it took a long time to get there. You know, it wasn't perfect. And I had babies that really didn't sleep for the first 4 to 6 weeks of to figure out what was going on with them. I mean, they slept sometimes, not at ideal times, but I've had babies where, you know, or NCS, where it was tough because, you know, I had a baby who had really bad gas. Mom liked, you know, she liked spicy food, and it really wasn't his cup of tea. So we spent the 4 weeks battling through, you know, mom liked caffeine. She liked spicy food. She liked to eat all these things that baby system really didn't agree with. So, you know, he didn't really sleep well or solidly until 6 weeks. And then at 8 weeks, he was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to sleep through the night now. And that had nothing to do with me. And then I've had babies with reflux where it took us 3 months to, you know, really get in the groove of things and get on doctors and figure it out. So it's not just, you know, you have a few weeks and everything's fine and dandy because sleeping baby at night, it's, you know, it's work. It's work. Not every baby is a great sleeper. And we really have to work hard to all get on the same page and get there. You know, there's going to be nights where you're not going to close your eyes once. You're going to be there for 12 hours with a newborn baby. And so for some people that's, you know, that's not going to be okay with them. And they don't understand that right now. I'm okay with it. I don't mind holding a baby for 12 hours.
Right. Well, see, that was going to be my next question. How many times were you up in the middle of the night with those babies? Because it's not like, oh, I'm going to give them a bottle, I'm going to burp them, and I'm going to put them down, and they're going to sleep, and then I'll get up maybe, you know, tomorrow morning, give them a bottle before I leave. And it's not so hunky-dory like that.
No, not always. Sometimes, you know, you're in the rocking chair at 3 a.m. and you're like, okay, please go to sleep now, buddy. I believe in you. You got this. And, you know, that's not happening anytime soon. You're just like, well, I guess we're going to be snuggle buddies tonight. And I'm just going to sit here and look at you while you sleep. And I hold you because the crib is not happening tonight.
Right. So. What about you, Chevelle?
For me, I think the question is right. My thing went in and out for a minute. I've been blessed also to have enough babies sleep through the night, but it does take time to get there with sleep conditioning. You know, you have to prepare for this long before you get to the 12 weeks. And also, it's a lot of problem solving, as Alexis was mentioning. You know, there are things that come along during the process of getting your babies to sleep through the night that, you know, if it's the gas, the reflux, are they eating enough during the day? Are they overtired before they go to bed? Do they have blackout shades? Do they have a sound machine? Is their nursery set up the right way? Are they overheated? Are they, you know, is the temperature in the room, you know, the right temperature? There's a lot of problem solving that goes into being a newborn care specialist. You have to always be open to both change up your processes if necessary, because not every baby is the same. You know, it's not the same as you go into every household that is absolutely the same. So you have to be prepared to think on your feet. all while, like I said before, presenting to your client in a most professional way possible. You know, they're only going to have confidence in you if you have enough confidence in yourself. And the way to do that is to be prepared before you go into their home, to be knowledgeable, you know, as Tanya was saying, to continue on with your education, um, networking with other people. Sometimes you know, when we get together, just as we do as nannies, we get together and we talk about our charges. Um, you know, there may be something that child is going through. You do the same thing as NCS. You're like, you know, I had a baby the other day and XYZ, and try to troubleshoot that. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Yes. What about you, Tanya?
Well, because I've been doing this for a long, long time, I've had lots of babies who are good sleepers, but I've also had a lot that are not. And I have a girlfriend who used to say, she's passed away now, but she used to say, it takes a special kind of weird to like to work with triplets. And I have that special kind of weird, I guess, because I love working with triplets. But as a newborn care specialist, a lot of the reasons families hire us to begin with is because they're expecting multiples, and multiples almost always means premature babies. And premature babies have different needs than a full-term baby, but even a term baby at 2 days old is entirely different than a baby at 2 months old. And sleep is earned in our business. It's not guaranteed. And even when you do everything right, it doesn't always work. And so I've worked with triplets, for example, where one of them was later diagnosed with a sensory processing disorder, but that one baby never slept more than 5 hours because it just was something. Sleep is something that children who have processing disorders sometimes struggle with. And for her, it was a struggle. The other two were sleeping 12 hours at 12 weeks, and she was sleeping her standard 5 hours. That's it, I'm done. So every baby, every situation is different. And as Chevelle said, we have to respond to that. We have to recognize that it can take longer. Alexis made a fabulous point that even, you know, babies she's worked with, it doesn't always happen as fast as you think it's going to. And it's a lot of work at night, but it's also my favorite part of it, is seeing that progression and meeting their needs, and knowing that by meeting their needs at night, we are ultimately helping them. Because that is a big thing about what we teach at Newborn Care Solutions, is that we meet their needs. And when we meet their needs, babies will naturally and organically sleep through the night when their body's physiologically ready to do it. Not because we put them on a hard, fast schedule and said, well, the clock says, or the calendar says. You know, we respond individually to them. And so there have been jobs where I haven't gotten a lot of sleep, but it's always worth it. It's always worth it.
Well, I think there should be 2 letters added on to the NCS, and that's PI, as in private investigator, because I am so serious, because it's like, okay, so this is not working. Okay, that is not, just like Alexis said, if mom is breastfeeding, what are you eating? I always tell my parents and moms, please, I need you to do a food log so we can do a process of elimination. If something is going on, so we can determine if it's something that you're eating that's causing all the gassiness or the reactions that this baby is having. So is that, or I wonder, wait a minute. Yes, this child is poopy. Up we go and get out of the poop. Okay, so you know, it's always something, and you have a standard list of things that you go by. Okay, so I've checked this, I've checked that, I've checked this, I've checked that, I've checked this. Okay, so now where do I start? So we are private investigators because we have to figure out what is wrong with little baby. And how can I soothe little baby? And you're standing there and you're shaking and you're rocking and you're patting and you've turned the sound machine on, you got the room dark, and you're like, okay, I'm stumbling over my own 2 feet because I can't see. What is wrong with this baby? And you know, it could be something just, you know, so simple. And You still got to figure it out. And when she figured it out, I'm like, what did I think of that? Why was that not one of my go-tos? Because you're still trying to figure that every child is different. Every child's sleeping pattern is different. Every child is going to do something different. Like I said, when I first started, this baby, he was one of the easiest babies I've had. I was like, yes, thank you. I got a good one. So, not that all babies are good, but he was just a natural sleeper. I didn't have it was like the sleep conditioning. And there's a difference between sleep conditioning and sleep training. And when moms tell me, well, you sleep train him. Nope, I did not sleep train your child. I just made the conditions of the surroundings and the environment conducive to sleep. Sleep conditioning. That's all I did. And when you make those surroundings conducive to sleep, magic happens.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes. So, Tanya, I want you to answer this question. Since you are the instructor, I know the answer, and I'm sure Chevelle and Alexis knows the answer, but we have a question from Carolee Miles. She says, what is the difference between night nanny and newborn care specialists?
So kind of one of the big difference, both of them are really important and both of them can have a vital role for families. Part of that depends on what the family wants and what the family needs. But one of the big distinctions between a night nanny and a newborn care specialist is that a newborn care specialist comes in and is expected to be the expert and is expected to kind of guide how things are going to go, or to even completely 100% independently handle everything. Usually a night nanny is operating more under the direction and direct supervision of the parents. So they can even have the same amount of training. I can operate as a night nanny for one family because the parents want to direct it. So I might show up at 9 o'clock and mom says, or dad says, the baby just ate. They need to be gotten up at 12 o'clock and fed again, and then again at 3. Or if I'm a newborn care specialist, it's going to be, if anybody's even awake when I get there, it's going to be the baby was just fed at 9 o'clock. See you in the morning. And they assume that I know what I'm doing, that I can handle things, that I can read the baby's cues, pay attention, and I can self-direct all night long. Now, sometimes newborn care specialists have way more training than night nannies do. Sometimes night nannies have a ton of training or they have a ton of experience, and that's a super valuable asset. So it's not to diminish what they do. It's just a kind of a different scope of the role because the newborn care specialist is expected to be more independent, more self-directed, and they are expected to have a higher level of learning and education to go along with that and in order to support that.
Okay, so what are the benefits of being a newborn care specialist versus the night nanny?
Well, you do have that greater level of independence usually, and the expectation of that. But here's the other big one that comes with it is with the training, with the experience, and with that expected level of independence comes a higher rate of pay. A newborn care specialist is generally paid a fairly significant amount higher than a night nanny is in most markets. There's also a kind of different level of respect, even if you were doing, you come at it the same thing. And the responsibilities are different. Just like if you're a professional nanny and you work 50 hours a week for a family, and on Sunday night you decide to take a babysitting gig through one of the local babysitting apps and you show up and you babysit. Well, your responsibilities are a whole lot different than they are when you nanny during the week. And it's the same sort of thing, even if you come in with the same qualifications. But there's usually a much higher rate of pay as well.
Okay. Now, Alexis And Chevelle, either one of you all can answer this. What made you want to create a business partnership?
Go ahead, Alexis. I'll let you go for that one.
So, oh, that's such a complicated question. I think both me and Chevelle are very passionate about elevating this industry and making sure that families that are seeking out overnight care have access to the best care that they possibly can. I think it's such a deep question. I think that there's some issues in our industry that we initially founded our business based upon. We both have big clienteles, and to the point to where we job share, and we often bring on other people when we have clients that need care that we can't necessarily cover. And there are agencies in this industry that want newborn care professionals with training and experience, but are not willing to pay them fair rates. And that's, one of the goals that we have as an agency and as a business, is to work with people that are, passionate like we are, that strive to provide excellent care, and then pay them for their experience and for their education at a fair rate. If you're a trained newborn care specialist, nobody should, trained and experienced, nobody should offer you $18 an hour.
Yeah, and also I would say one thing that I'm passionate about, I think Alexis is too, is we want to be able to advocate for our industry and for our colleagues. It's really important to me, that, for example, there's not always a sleeping space. Agencies don't always advocate for you to have a sleeping space when you're going into these homes for 8, 10, 12 hour or longer shifts. And one thing that's really important is that, I want my colleagues to be able to have a comfortable place to rest while they are attending to that baby. Some people work within the baby's room. Some people work, in the guest room or whatever. I personally have pretty much always been in the baby's room, and I prefer to be in the baby's room. But I want to make sure that whoever, we're sending into a home has a place to sleep and not a rocking chair to be up for 12 hours at night. That's important to me. But also I want families that I can't possibly service, because of overflow work or whatever the case may be. I want them to have access to people that are like-minded, like myself, who are passionate about what they do. They're not in it just for the money. They're in it because they want to support families and help families. They want to do it ethically. And I want to be able to say, hey, I was doing it before anyway. Hey, I have, a friend or whatever, and they're an NCS, they're wonderful. And I think they would be a good match for your family, a good, fit. So Alexis and I do things very similarly. We work really well together. Whether it's making sure that our clients have the best customer service possible, or putting together a package that's going to be fair to that client. So it was just kind of something natural. She and I have actually known each other as nannies before we were really doing NCS work, and so our relationship has grown from there, from being nanny colleagues to now being business partners.
I want to touch on something that you said, because when I first started, yes, I was one of the ones that had a couch and a chair to sleep on. Not my first clients, but I had a couple of clients in between that I was filling in for, and it ended up being more than just a 1 night or 2 night. It was actually over a 3-week period. When you are on a 12-hour job, you working from 7 to 7, 8 to 8, whatever the hours may be. If you're on a 12-hour job and you are sitting in a chair, you are killing yourself. And when I say that, if you happen to have high blood pressure or anything that is, even if you don't have high blood pressure, when you're sitting in a chair, your legs are down, your knees are bent, you are cutting off some circulation. Look at your knees. Look at your ankles. After about 2 or 3 days, look at your ankles and they're going to start looking like elephant stumps, which means that all of that fluid that should be flowing back and forth when you are laying horizontal, your legs are hanging down, all the fluid is going to your ankles, which means you are retaining fluid and your blood pressure is going up. Now, imagine your blood pressure is continuing to go up and go up and go up, and you have a 12-week job. 12 hours over 12 weeks, and you work in 6 to 7 days over that period of time, you can have a heart attack. I'm just saying, this ain't all glamour and glitz. When I did it for 3 weeks and I looked at my ankles, I said, what's wrong with my ankles? Why are my ankles swollen? Went to the doctor and he said, because you're sitting in a chair all night long for 12 hours. If you're not up and walking around or laying down and giving your body a break, it will affect your health. And if it's going to affect my health, I'm going to demand, how can I take care of your babies if I'm killing myself? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think about these things before you take on a job. Ask about these things. You have to have an ironclad contract. Everybody's contract may be different from yours, but what your values are, your core values should be in your contract. And one of those things is a place to rest. I personally do not do 24-hour care. I don't do awake care. Awake care is a killer too, because if you are awake 12 hours, which means, and sometimes our jobs are not in our neighborhoods. Our jobs, you got to travel 30, 40 minutes to get to that job. So that's an hour on the road. Then you got to get dressed before that. So you basically up for like 16, 17 hours. And then when you get home, you got to, okay, I need to wind down. By the time you wind down, get you something to eat and lay down, it's time to get back up. You do that for 4 or 5 days in a row. And you're sitting in a chair. And this is like those hours are coming together, that awake care. I've heard of 2 NCS, and I know it's probably more statistics out there, but I heard of 2 that I personally know about, of a NCS driving home and never made it home because she did awake care and she was so tired and sleepy that your body just shuts down, and you never know how much your body can take until it can't take it anymore. Mm-hmm. You don't know where your breaking point is. I'm just asking you to consider all these things before you decide, oh, this is what I want to do. There are a whole lot of behind the scenes things that you need to think about before you do that. And make sure that you ask for a place to sleep. I personally won't do the awake care. I know my body. I need some sleep, at least a nap. Mm-hmm. I won't do it. And in the beginning, those babies don't necessarily, newborns, they honestly, and I don't mean this to offend anybody about their children, but to me, and this is just my personal opinion, when you have babies that are newborns, they sound like little puppies. Because all night long they're going, and you're trying to figure out, okay, wait a minute. And you're trying to figure out, well, what noise is this? Is this the hunger noise? Is this the wet noise? Is this I got a poopy pepper? Is this I'm just adjusting? Baby, even when they just wiggle, they make noises. And your ears, if you are a great NCS, your ears perk up and you're a light sleeper. And you're like, what was that? Okay, what was that? And you're listening. That's why I prefer, just like Shabelle, I prefer to be in the room with the child so I can learn all your little whimpers, all your little whines, all your little, all those little noises. So I know, oh, well, he's just turning over. okay, well, he's just trying to get adjusted, and babies, stretch their arms up. Yeah, all of that. You get to know all of those things. It's a part of the profession. It's a part of what we do. So just consider those things. And if possible,
Angela, can
yes,
I share one thing about the
sure.
overnights? Yeah. So one of the arguments I hear a lot of times, either via from agencies or from families, or even people who are looking at this profession, is they say, well, nurses stay awake all night on shift at the hospital, or people who work shift work say, say your husband works at the Pepsi factory or whatever, they're awake all night long. Yes, they are, but they're active and they're in an environment that's designed for them to stay awake. Newborn care specialists are working in an environment that's designed for sleep. You are in a room that's dark, that has white noise, that is comfortable a lot of times, either because you're laying down or you're in a rocking chair. If you're in a rocking chair, and I'm with you there better be a place to sleep or it's not happening. But you're in an environment that is absolutely 100% created to promote sleep, not to keep you awake. You're not up running around checking on patients. You're not running machinery. You don't have loud music on. You don't have bright lights on. And so to expect a human body that's designed to sleep at night to begin with, and then put it in an environment that's designed to support sleep, and then expect it to stay awake, is almost impossible. And it is very, very dangerous, because you are continually pushing that off and pushing off your response, so that when you get in your car, as you described, to drive home, and you've got a 45-minute drive ahead of you, and you turn the heat on and the car's vibrating and you have white
This is
noise.
like a newborn baby.
Exactly. And that's when it can become really, really dangerous as well. So that's one of the reasons why awake care can be so dangerous, and why agencies and even NCS who do provide awake care oftentimes have a hard and fast rule that it's only overnights, and they do not work with anybody else during the day, so that they can come home and get a decent amount of sleep. You have to be really disciplined to do that kind of work well and do awake care.
I have a comment. Stacy Oxley says, about a year into my NCS career, I developed blood clots, too much time in a chair and not enough walking around. We have to take care of ourselves.
We do. I don't even sit in a rocking chair at night most of the time. Even if I have one, I'll feed the baby sitting on the floor, or I'll use a boppy, but I don't like sitting in the rocking chair.
Mm-hmm.
So a big piece about, oh, sorry.
I
was going to say a big piece about being a newborn care specialist is you get to learn how to advocate for yourself. You get to learn what what I used to do in the beginning of my NCS career is not what I do now.
Exactly.
In order to get the job, I have a self-inflatable camp mat that I slept on the floor, because the agency that sent me on the job didn't tell me that there was no place to sleep, didn't offer to advocate for me to be able to, have a place to lay down. So I think probably the second night when I realized there was not going to be a bed in that room, I ended up getting a self-inflatable camp mat, to bring. Or if there, like one client of mine, she wasn't going to put a bed in the baby's room because it was too small, and it really was when I got there. So I have a twin size inflatable mattress that I brought and left at their house because I was at their house so often enough. I was like, I can't, I'm sorry, I'm 50 years old. I can't sleep on the floor. So I have to have at least an air mattress or something. But you learn to advocate for yourself. You learn to know what you want and what you don't want your career to look like. It teaches you hardcore and fast how to do that. And you can make this career anything you want it to be. You can say, I will do awake care if that's your niche. I don't want to do that. I will work 7 nights a week. I only want to work 5 nights a week. Before, when I was in NCS and just starting out, I did 3 nights a week and I nannied during the day. It was hard, but I knew my limits and I knew what I could and could not do. But you get to make this career anything you want,
Yes.
which I love, and it's taught me a lot about myself. Um, that's a big piece of it too.
Yes. When you go into families' homes, especially, I work with a lot of brand new families, they don't have a clue as to what they want. I have no clue. And they will tell you, oh, I want this, I want that, I want that. All of this before the baby is born. And then after the baby is born, we need to change this, we need to have that, we need to do this, we need to do that. And then they listen to Dr. Google because they got to Google everything. And they need all this unnecessary things. And you're like, you don't really need that for your child to sleep. All you need is the bare minimum, the basics, and your child will sleep. And you have to be the guide to the parents. And the way you get to be the guide is when you go in with a professional, dress professionally when you go there, and you act professionally when you get there. I always have a questionnaire and I ask them questions, and it's like about 30 questions. And they're looking like, I thought we were interviewing you. You interviewing us. Yes, because you don't know what you want. So I have taken from all the newborn parents that I have worked with in my nanny life, because they didn't know what they wanted. And I've taken those questions and then switched it over to the nighttime for the parents and I just ask questions, because if they have no clue what they want, and even if they have a clue as to what they want, sometimes that's not going to work. That's unreasonable to ask of your child, to ask of yourself, and then they get discouraged and think, well, we're bad parents. And it's not that they're bad parenting, it's just rearranging their perspective about how they should parent, how things, are supposed to go. You're not a bad parent because you can't get your child to breastfeed. You're not a bad parent because your child has a tongue tie and you can't get them to latch on. That's not bad parenting. That's something that can be taken care of. We get a lactation, specialist, IBCLC, to get in here to help you latch. We get, people that you are connected with. And that's another point. Have connections to postpartum news, to lactation specialists, to to new parent educators. Have I have a Rolodex. I have a board over here, and it has all my cards, and I have them grouped with who does what. So I have connections that I can call, and I always tell my parents, I am a newborn care specialist, but I am human. If I get sick, I work with a network of people. I work with a network of women. So if something happens to me, I can send someone to you from my network. So it's important to network with other NCSs too. But you gotta have to go in there and be the professional. You're gonna have to take charge of that interview so they will know you know what you're doing. You know what to expect from this baby. They know what to expect from you. You tell them what you need in order to do this job, and you all come to a compromise on how all of this is going to happen. That's right. Now, one last thing from Miss Tanya. Okay, so I really, really, really want you to explain to us the different levels of NCS.
Okay. So with what we do, as I said in the beginning, our foundational training was designed right from the get-go to be for people who are already childcare professionals. So these are people that are nannies, that are postpartum doulas, that might be infant room daycare teachers, etc., but they come into it already knowing the basics. So our foundational class builds on that. And then there is an advanced level, which is some of the same topics, but going farther in depth. And then other topics that are brand new that give you a greater knowledge and expansion. There's also kind of one-off things that you can take, like sleep solutions or respectful care. Those are kind of one-offs. They're not kind of part of the tier levels so much as they are supplementary classes. But then when you enter into the elite level, Chevelle and Alexis are both in our elite program, but they're in elite year 2. And our elite program is our exclusive to our company, but it's something that we created at the request of newborn care specialists who said, I want to learn more, I want to learn more, I want to learn more. And the level 1, there's level 1, there's level 2, and then there's master NCS. And level 1 is really focused on business. It's all about getting your business going beyond the basics that we teach you in the foundational class. And it's really in-depth stuff, how to use blogging as a marketing tool, how to set up an LLC. What do you need for insurance? Do you need to have a lawyer? All that kind of stuff. So we go through systematically, step by step, of setting up your whole business. And then the second year that like Chevelle and Alexis are in right now is much more focused on more in-depth baby things. So in-depth, more unusual conditions that you might not see as often. Or it's taking things like understanding failure to thrive better, or what's the difference between a preemie hospital formula and a preemie discharge formula. And so there are a lot of different things that we teach, but it's all baby focused to give them an even more in-depth level. But the people who are in like level 2, like Chevelle and Alexis now, have several years of experience under their belt. These are not brand new starter NCS. These are people that are working through this systematically. And then the master NCS program is all about teaching you how to research. So that say you're working for a client and they come home and they say, you know what, my baby was just diagnosed with bilateral arterial atresia. What is that?
Yeah, what is
right?
that?
And so if you get that as a parent comes home, they're going to expect you as an elite level newborn care specialist. They're going to expect that you've encountered this, or you know what these things are. And you're thinking, what is that? I've never heard of that before. We teach you how to go research it, find out what it is, and by evaluating who your client is, bringing that information back to your client in a form that's digestible and customizable just for them. But we teach you all about how to research and what makes a credible research study. And part of the master program, in order to receive your master NCS, is you actually have to walk through that entire process. So we teach you, and you have exercises as you go along to learn, but your final project is that you have to actually choose a topic, define your client, define the question, and then go through the entire process and present your project. And so, because the goal is that ultimately you don't need me anymore. You have the ability to go out and find these things and have these answers and to be able to help your client. Because I'm a very firm believer in the saying that you don't need to have all the answers, but you do need to know how to find them. And that is part of supporting your client. And that's part of being a master NCS, is knowing this stuff and knowing how to research it. And the reception of what we've offered has been so good, and my belief in it is so strong. That's why we went through the process of actually making those exclusive to our company. So there actually are federally registered trademark programs. So you essentially can't call yourself a master NCS if you haven't gone through that program. So it's one of the things that's really great and distinct about it. And the only other thing I would say is the foundational program is the program that is cash accredited. And so if you want to become a certified newborn care specialist, that's the program that's required by CASH, and CASH is the government arm in the UK that supervises training programs and certifies nannies. And they now certify newborn care specialists. And so it's a way to become a certified newborn care specialist if that's something that you want. And it's recognized worldwide.
Yes. And I've had two of your master students on, well, they are now not students anymore. They are master NCSs. Wendy talked about her paper on baby lead weaning, because I had several parents ask me about baby lead weaning. And when the first time I tried it as a nanny, I was like, because I'm old school. I'm like, they can't eat this, they need to be chopped up, it needs to be this baby is too young for this. And that was my stigmatism. That was before I learned anything beyond me, because I didn't know about all this nanny stuff, the nanny forums and all these questions to ask and how to research and all that. This was my belief. This was my, and that's one thing that being an NCS is, you have to get past all that stuff that you have here, that you think you know it all, that you think, okay, well, there's no way that this can happen or that can happen. You got to get past yourself and open your mind to new learning. And they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, this old dog learned some new tricks. And I really, really, really appreciate you, Tanya, for the program that you have produced. Because like I said, when I left your class, I felt so empowered. So much so that it has carried over, not only from being an NCS, but into being a nanny, because most of my nanny jobs were with newborns. And it taught me so much. I was like, yeah, I got this, I can do this, And then I had the terminology. I knew you can't go into a parent and say, well, why is this working? It's just, why are you doing that? Because it works. You can't tell a parent that. You know it works because you've done it so many times before. But these new millennials, you won't have to give me a term or something that I can look up on Dr. Google, because I'm not going to believe you if my mom's groups, if they haven't heard of because it works. You've got to give them the terminology. You've got to give them an explanation as to, this is why this works. And if you can't explain that, they're looking at you like, do you really know what you're talking about? Because most of the things that you are going to try is going to take time. And parents want immediate results. If it's not going to work like this and you can't explain to me why it won't work like this, I don't need you. Let me move on to the next person who's going to tell me what I want to hear.
Yep. And we give you the science behind everything we do. Everything we teach is evidence-based. And
yes, you have grown my business. Seriously, you have grown my business. Now, ladies, do you have any advice, one piece of advice that you would give to anyone who wants to become an NCS?
I would say, if you want to really become an NCS, take the leap and actually take the training. A lot of people say, oh my gosh, it costs so much to take this class. And trust me, I was one of those people who was like, where am I going to get this, money to do this? But if you take your foundational training, you make that money back, even if you're not making the big giant, rates per hour. Just at an entry-level rate per hour, you really do make your money back in the first, I would say, week of your first contract, of your first doing it. So take the leap and do it. And if it's your passion, follow it through, and it will not steer you wrong.
Exactly.
I would say that the biggest advice that I have is, think of the words empathy and compassion often. If you have to be empathetic and compassionate, you have to be that 10 times more as an NCS, because we're dealing with new families, we're dealing with people in very vulnerable positions. And in that, you know, you have to be empathetic and compassionate to mom, to dad, to grandma, whoever's in the house, because they're going through such big changes, and you really need to remove yourself and remove your goals for the situation and whatever, you know, thoughts and desires you have for how you want it to go, and really think about what's going to be best for this family that you're working with, because it's not about you. It's really, working as an NCS is often, you know, selfless. You have to think about others first, and you have to make sacrifices, and, you know, you just really have to work very hard to support these families. And if your first thought is you're going into it because it's a higher rate for the money, it probably isn't the right thing to do for you, because, you know, what's worth it for me isn't the money. You know, I think that NCSs should be paid a lot more because we do such hard work. But what fulfills me is that I get to go in and I get to make an impact on a family's life. I get to educate them. I get to help them grow, not only as parents, but as people. I'm helping them discover new philosophies and a whole new way that life can be. You know, things can be easy. You can have your cake and eat it too. And, you know, life can be, you know, peaches and cream, because that's what life is like for my clients that I work with, is peaches and cream. We work hard to get there, but they enjoy their maternity leaves or their, you know, family leaves. They really enjoy the time that they have with their families. And I'm so glad that I get to make that impact. But if you're going into this for the money, then you shouldn't.
Now, I would say, if I was going to give you one piece of advice, these girls have already given you two really great ones. My final one would be, if you pay attention, and if you watch closely, and if you listen closely, the baby will tell you what they need. And you will learn more from them by observing them and really tuning into what they're doing. You will learn more from them than you will ever learn in any class anywhere, because that's the distinction between a good newborn care specialist and a great newborn care specialist.
Say it again for the people in the back. The only thing, well, I will add to that and say compassionate professionalism, and always, always, always don't treat it as a job. It is a relationship between you and that family, and treat it as if you are going in and you talk to mom. How is mom doing? Because a lot of times mom spends a lot of time with that baby, and the baby picks up on the vibes of the mom, whoever is holding it. And if that baby is upset and mom's upset, that baby's going to feel that and take on that. And you have to be mindful that mom is in a postpartum. Postpartum is different. It looks different for every woman. Some, it doesn't affect them. Some you have, it's like up here, down here, and all this in between. And on any given day, all of those can happen. It just depends. Hormones are up and down and up and down and up and down. And you have to be mindful of those things. And if you don't do anything else, have a postpartum plan. That's the first thing that one of the first things that I do when I ask my questions. Do you have a postpartum plan? Because preparing before is a whole lot easier to get that plan in place before than to react to what's going on in the now. Because you don't know how mom is going to react to that. I'm just saying. Thank you, ladies, for taking a walk on the dark side with me and educating us on the not so pleasant things that happen in the NCS world. People perceive us as one thing, but they don't know what goes on behind the scenes. And it looks like this glamorous job, but it is not for everyone. So think about what you're going into. Think about what you learn in the class, and then please, all things, invest in yourself. Don't be like me, because I thought, well, I'm taking care of kids. I know what I'm doing. I've been in this for 30 some odd years. Well, now I've been in it for 40 some odd years, and I have learned a whole lot within the last 4 years, 3 or 4 years. I feel like I'm playing catch up, because all these things that they're sharing with you all, I had to learn within the last, 2 or 3 years. And I'm just like running. And all you see is elbows and the soles, shoe soles, because I'm running trying to catch everybody and catch up to everybody, what everybody else knows. You can learn it. You can do this. If you are that special person, you have that heart for it, invest in yourself. And now is the time. If you can afford it, invest in yourself. And I know Tanya has payment plans.
Mm-hmm.
So invest in yourself, and you can pay on it. It does not, I promise you, it will elevate you. It will bring you to a new level of knowledge. It will bring you to a new level of thinking, and the way you operate now will change. I guarantee you it will change if this is actually for you. And like Alexis says, don't go into it for the money, because you will be disappointed, because you do have to work. And word of mouth is priceless. If you don't work and those families are not happy with you, they will not recommend you. If you don't work and those families are not happy with you, and they'll call one of us and we have a network, trust me, you will not be recommended by your peers either, because they know that you're only in it for the money, and your heart is not in it. And I don't know about anybody else, but my reputation is important to me. And who I recommend to people is important to me, because that's a reflection of me. And if you're not willing to put the work in, don't ask me. I will not recommend you. Don't ask me, because I'm not sticking my neck out for you to ruin my occupation. That's just my opinion. Now, we will see you all next week. Next week, we're going to be on twice. I have next Wednesday, we have Ask Shelley, and she's going to talk to us about children with OCD. So I'll have 2 ads coming out this week, so be sure to watch for them. And we will see you all next week, same time, same place. And ladies, thank you again. Can you all put your information in the comments on Facebook, so that we'll know how to get in contact with you, and so we can spread the word about NCSs, and if everybody wants to, contact you and your agency, so they can. Now, do you all just do Dallas, or do you do all over?
All over.
Cool. So, Alexis and Chevelle, place to be. You want the class? Trust me, Newborn Care Solutions is the best way to go. I'm not going to say it's the only way to go, because there are others out there, but it's the best way to go. I promise you. I'm a hands-on learner, and you get very hands-on with this. And they are online, and they're doing some in-person classes after we get past the pandemic. So just check on their website, and you can find out when all these things are happening. And if you ask me, I'll look it up for you too. So thank you all, and we will see you all next week. And I really appreciate you ladies.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Angela.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Bye-bye.